So good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another session in the series of Inspiring Young Leaders. While servant leadership is a timeless concept, the phrase servant leadership was coined by Robert K. Greenleaf in an essay that he first published in 1970. In this essay, Greenleaf said, "The servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. Such leaders are serving instead of commanding, showing humility instead of brandishing authority, and always looking to enhance the development of their colleagues to achieve self-actualization. In sharp contrast, a leader first uses his position power to command authority. The leader first and the servant first are two extremes of the same spectrum. Friends, today we have an eminent guest, Dr. Upinder Dhar sir, who will elucidate the very interesting concept of leading as a servant. I'm Dr. Archana Shrivastava, Director, Balaji Institute of Modern Management, which is a constituent institute of Shri Balaji University, Pune. And today I'm privileged to be the moderator of the session, Leading as a Servant, by none other than Dr. Upinder Dhar sir. This session is being organized by AIMS under the title of Inspiring Young Leaders. Now, most of you must be knowing about AIMS, but just to recapitulate, I'll give a brief. So in the annals of management education sector, 27th August 1988 should be remembered as a great landmark, as it was on this day, the Association of Indian Management Schools, AIMS, a highly impact-making networking body, was born. It has the strong support of about 550 high-ranking institutions as its members and is one of the largest networking bodies in the world. It is an umbrella organization for the management institutions. AIMS has been involved in protecting the interests of management institutions from the vagaries of restrictive governmental regulations, professionalization of management education, creation and dissemination of management-related knowledge through its various activities like roundtables for deans, directors, faculty, and student development events, organizing conventions, national and international level seminars and workshops, publication and distribution of AIMS Journal of Management, also funding of research projects and financial assistance. Of late, there has been a spurt in diversifying into new activities for the benefits of deans, directors, researchers, faculty, and students in the shape of inspiring young leaders and knowledge-sharing sessions at least once each every week. These new initiatives are fascinating to many faculty and young minds of the students. Friends, today we are in the august company of renowned speaker, Dr. Upinder Dhar. Let me share with you his illustrious journey before we begin the session. Dr. Upinder Dhar is first Vice Chancellor of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. Earlier, he was Group Additional Vice Chancellor and Pro-Vice Chancellor Academics, Amity University, Noida. First Vice Chancellor of J.K. Lakshmipat University, Jaipur. Director, Institute of Management, Dean, Faculty of Management, and Dean, Faculty of Doctoral Studies and Research, Nirma University, Ahmedabad. Director, Prestige Institute of Management and Research, Indore. Professor of Management at NITI, Mumbai. Reader at IMS DAVV, Indore, and lecturer at MD University, Rohtak. Sir has conducted 725 management and faculty development programs for the executives of major business houses and faculty members of academic institutions. He has also been guest faculty at IIM Calcutta, IIM Indore, IIM Trichy, and also IIT Roorkee. Besides undertaking consulting assignments, he has authored, co-authored, and edited 811 publications. 41 scholars have been awarded the PhD degree under his supervision by various universities. A fellow of ISTD and a strong proponent of case method, Dr. Dhar was conferred Ravi J. Mathai National Fellow Award by the Association of Indian Management Schools in 2018 and IMA Keval Noharia Award for Academic Leadership in Management Education 2022 by the All India Management Association in the same year. He has been on the panel of reviewers of a number of international journals such as International Journal of Training and Development, Human Resource International Journal of Global Business and Technology, and South Asian Journal of Management. He has also been on the panel of experts maintained by NAC Bangalore, MBA Bangalore, ICSSR New Delhi, and SAQS Hyderabad. He was president of Anthropological and Behavioral Sciences section of the Indian Science Congress Association in 2007-8, Indian Society for Training and Development in 2008-9, and Association of Indian Management Schools in 2014 and 15. He has also been member of the Council of Management of IMA, member of ATMA, All India Board of Management Studies of AICTE, Rajasthan State Productivity Council, Governing Board of DELNET, and member of the Executive Board of MDISA. Dr. Dhar was awarded Commonwealth Fellowship twice to present his papers at the South Asian Management Forums held at Royal Institute of Management, Bhutan, and Lahore University of Management Science, Lahore. He was invited by the American Society for Engineering Management as resource person for case method during its international annual conference held at Minnesota in 2013. He has also been resource person in the Leadership for Academicians program LEAP, sponsored by MHRD and organized by IIT Roorkee in 2018 and BHU Varanasi in 2019. He had the opportunity to visit Ivy League institutions like Harvard Business School, MIT Stern School of Management, and Yale University School of Management. He has also visited 18 countries for professional and academic interest. He has been on the high-powered expert committees constituted by MHRD, UGC, AICTE, and Honorable Governor of Uttar Pradesh. He was president of the International Simulation and Gaming Association 2021-22 and a member of the Standing Committee on Specification of Degrees of the UGC Act 22, 1956. Expert group constituted for the implementation of NEP 2020 and Governing Council of the Association of Indian Universities. Currently, he is a member of the Executive Board of MDISA 2022-24. Besides his professional engagements, Dr. Dhar has been a dedicated Rotarian since 1997. He was instrumental in setting up 2 Rotaract clubs in the institutions headed by him. Before I invite you to this golden opportunity to listen to such a distinguished personality as Dr. Dhar, I have a few instructions for our audience. Kindly mute your microphones throughout the session. You can post your queries in the chat box. The feedback link will be shared in the chat after the Q&A round is over, and it will be available to you for 15 minutes. Those participants who submit the filled feedback form will receive certificate of participation. So, dear audience, please observe these instructions for a smooth conduct of this session. I now invite Dr. Dhar. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Archana. Well, friends, as we know that we'll be talking about servant leadership, leading as a servant. Is it possible? If the first question that should cross our mind, that is it possible? How can we lead as servants? Because generally we understand leader has to be in the forefront. Leader has to be at the top. Leader has to be more dominating than the subordinates or the followers. So, under that understanding, can we lead as servants? As you know that we have been talking about leadership since 1920s. Since 1920s, various models started coming So there is a large number of theoretical models which we are having today. And those models those theories can be broadly classified into trait theories, or we have behavioral theories, we have implicit theories, we have situational theories. So these are the four broad categories of the theories that we have about on leadership today. Now, in recent times, few decades back, some people started thinking about how would it be if leader considers himself or herself as a servant, someone who is serving the followers. Servant here, the connotation is different. It is serving the followers as a duty. So I would like to share some of the slides with you. So let me share these slides first, and then we'll proceed. Well, we'll talk about, particularly in recent times, that is during COVID, many researchers started talking more about it, to serve the people, to serve the society, to serve various groups. So that's why I have named it under title I said during and post-COVID-19 pandemic. We are in post-pandemic now, more or less pandemic is gone. So we will be understanding it in this context and see how we can really serve our followers, treating ourselves as a servant. Leadership research research has examined various avenues for understanding leadership, including trait approach, contingency leadership, style approach, team leadership, and flexible leadership. So I'm sure that all of you know that when we started talking about leadership in terms of based on the research in 1920s, that time researchers believed, the theorists believed that leaders are born, leaders cannot be made. So they are born with certain traits, they are born with certain characteristics. But this belief or this set of theories, they were challenged in 1940s, mid-40s, that, well, it is not, if there are common traits, can we name those traits? But those proponents of trait theories could not name more than 3 or 4 or 5 traits which are common, and they were more or less common sense traits. Therefore, we had the leaders, the theorists, the researchers in 1940s started talking about the behavioral element. They believed that leadership is a form of behavior contributed by 2 dimensions. One dimension is the person dimension or person orientation, another is the production orientation. So this continued. So many models came under this umbrella, that is behavioral theories. Later on, another set of theories started saying that, well, leadership may be a form of behavior, but then if a leader is very effective in one situation, he should be effective in other situation also, which is not so. A person may be very effective in one situation, but the same leader may become ineffective when situation changes. Therefore, another set of theories emerged, which we classify as the situational models or situational theories. And incidentally, maximum theories fall under situational theories. And then later on, we can say currently, the theories starting talking, as we say, history repeats itself. So people started again talking about certain leadership characteristics, which may be prevalent in a particular situation. So situation has a role, but then there may be certain characteristics which can be identified. So for example, this fourth category is called implicit models. And one of the leading theories under this implicit theories or implicit models is charismatic leadership. Charisma. A leader may have charisma, and that charisma emerges because of certain characteristics. Now let us look into it, how a leader can serve as a servant. Most pertinent to the current research are the style approach to leadership. So as we know, if we remember the leadership, the managerial grid. So there are different styles. There are possible 81 styles of leadership. That's what I'm referring here to. Style approach to leadership, which emphasize that behaviors result in effective leadership. So it is the behavior. Basically, it is the behavior which is having two dimensions: person orientation and the production orientation. These approaches to leadership suggest that leaders can learn and apply various behaviors to influence organizational outcomes. So here, one important aspect is learning aspect. These approaches to leadership suggest that leaders can learn and apply various behaviors to influence organizational outcomes. Further, employees function at optimal levels under servant leadership because this leadership style centers on optimizing the strengths of individuals rather than critical evaluation. This is very important. This is how servant leadership is different, where we are seeing leader as a servant of the group, which he's heading. So here the employees function at optimal levels under servant leadership because this leadership style, which has been seen as a style, centers on optimizing the strengths of individuals rather than critical evaluation. So instead of critically evaluating the effectiveness of a leader, we help, support, or we try to create a situation so that the optimization of the abilities happens. Studies have consistently shown that servant leadership is conducive to an employee-friendly, a high level of concern for others, and a genuine motivation to help the customer. See, there are certain number of studies available which point that, well, it works. Servant leadership works very well. It is conducive to an employee-friendly environment, characterized by a high level of concern for others and a genuine motivation to help the customer. Further, it fosters a service climate and a collaborative environment that nurtures employee creativity and innovation. So this is a very important point. Service leadership fosters a service climate. Service climate, you created that kind of creativity. As we generally say, that certain styles trickle down. Same thing happens here. If leader fosters a service climate, so that climate is experienced by all those who are in that particular group or the organization. Servant leadership can provide the organization with opportunities to develop a competitive advantage in the marketplace. It is fundamentally different from other employee-oriented leadership styles, such as transformational leadership or considerate leadership. So some distinction is made between service leadership and employee-oriented leadership styles. See, as we say, many authors have used terminology like democratic leaders. So that means democratic or participative leaders. So service leadership is slightly different from these models. All of these styles appear kind of the employee. The aim of the leader is motivating the employee to engage in actions that help the organization achieve its objectives. So this we need to remember. The aim of the leader is motivating the employee to engage. So employee engagement is an important element in service leadership. Servant leaders believe that serving the needs of their followers is the leader's top priority. See, this makes a person service leader when he strongly believes that his basic function, his basic priority should be to cater to the needs of the followers. The theory behind servant leadership is that such leadership helps to create a positive work environment in which employees develop feelings of attachment and loyalty to the organization. Servant leadership has a positive effect on procedural justice perceptions and organizational citizenship behaviors. So this is again very important aspect of servant leadership. There is a positive effect. There are a number of studies which have indicated that servant leadership has a positive effect on procedural justice perception and organizational citizenship behaviors. Other research indicates that servant leadership can be beneficial for the organization and its employees in additional ways. Well, am I audible at all?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay, fine. Before we go further, if anybody has any question, I will be happy to respond. Any of the participants has any question now, I can respond to them.
So
Okay,
one
no
question which is
yeah,
there.
Yeah,
So this question says, how the success of leadership can be measured? How can the success of leadership be measured?
See, in management language, we don't say successful leaders. It's a journalistic language. In management language, we say effective leaders. How would we assess whether a leader is effective or not? That would be evident from the performance of the people, from the performance of the employees or the followers. And also, in other words, what we can say, the performance of the followers is the reflection of the effectiveness of the leader in the case of a servant leader. So servant leader is considered to be effective if followers are performing in a better way. If the higher the performance of the employees, higher the performance of the followers, that is the reflection of the effectiveness of the leader. So servant leader is considered effective if employees are performers or if employees are performing well. Have I answered the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other question at this point?
So none at this point.
Okay, let's go ahead. Well, servant leadership is conducive to higher organizational performance because it helps to create an organizational culture in which employees display positive attitudes and work behavior. Here is again the answer to the question. Servant leadership is conducive to higher organizational performance. So higher the organizational performance, so we can say that is the reflection of the effectiveness of the servant leader, because it helps to create an organizational culture in which employees display positive attitudes and work behaviors. Further, servant leadership can be differentiated from other leadership styles because of servant leaders' deeply held values of equality, honesty, and integrity. There are some studies which have pointed out these three values: equality, honesty, and integrity. These three values are typically held by servant leaders. Ethical behavior of the leader is a fundamental aspect of servant leadership, as leaders are described as embracing and living by high ethical standards, thereby facilitating organization's journey toward higher ethical levels. So here, ethics is very important. When we talk about service leadership, how ethical the leader is, it will have a reflection it will have a reflection on the employees or the followers. So ethical aspect, very essential. In fact, it has been it goes with servant leadership. So equality, honesty, integrity are important. Ethical level is a sequential hierarchy that reflects the organization's progressive ethical implementation and commitment to ethics. So in the case of a service leader, ethics is considered to be a very important element. So a leader is expected to be possessing the values of equality, honesty, and integrity. Leaders using a considerate style of leadership create an environment of psychological support and friendliness by listening and responding to employee feedback. Further, incorporate suggestions in decision making. So suggestions given by the followers, suggestions given by the employees are incorporated in the decision making process. They collaborate and provide necessary resources which lead to enhanced employee morale and satisfaction. But is also associated with decreased performance. So when we talk more in terms of collaboration, providing necessary resources which lead to enhanced employee morale and satisfaction, it has been observed by some researchers there, but it also is associated with decreased performance. Transformational leadership, this what I was saying, this was about consideration. Those were considerate leaders using a considerate style of leadership. Then further, those who are using transformational leadership values followed and can increase performance by transformational leadership values. Followers can follow transformational leadership values. Followers and can increase performance. That means if transformational leadership values are followed, that gives rise to the increase in performance, enhancement in the performance. Articulating a vision in terms of what? So when we say increase performance, it is in terms of what? Articulating a vision, providing an appropriate role model, fostering acceptance of group goals, giving individualized support and intellectual stimulation, and expressing high performance expectations. You see, why does a leader believe that he should serve the needs of his followers? Why at all to think like that? It is because in servant leadership, if people are involved and given a feeling of being equal partners in the organization, that increases the performance of the followers. Transformational leaders care about subordinates, but the essential objective remains to achieve organizational objectives. Servant leaders, however, say, as I have distinguished earlier also, transformational leaders and servant leaders are different. In the case of transformation leaders, what happens, leaders care about subordinates, but the essential objective remains to achieve organizational objectives. Whereas in the case of servant leaders, however, they place the needs of followers above their own and focus on helping them to achieve success. This is how they are different. They place the needs of followers above their own and focus on helping them to achieve success. These leaders, that is servant leaders, view follower success as an end in itself, as opposed to a means to achieving organizational success. So here in the case of service leadership, success of the followers, success of the colleagues, success of the employees is considered important towards their contribution in the achievement of the objectives of the organization. Some authors identified 7 dimensions of servant leadership. What are those? While developing a multi-dimensional measure of servant leadership. So there are certain measures available which can be used to assess how far a person, how far a leader is really a servant leader. So some authors identified 7 dimensions. So these 7 dimensions are: 1, emotional healing. You see, the servant leaders care about the subordinates. So in case of any crisis, in case of any problem, they provide emotional healing. Further, creating value for the community. They try to create value for the community. Community here means any group that a leader is leading, that a leader is heading. So creating value for the community. Third, conceptual skills. Say, for example, visioning, how to make a vision. It's a conceptual skill. Empowering subordinates, giving authority to the subordinates to take certain decisions, to implement certain decisions. So empowerment. So empowering subordinates. 5th is helping subordinates grow and succeed. Helping subordinates grow and succeed. You see, this helping subordinates grow and succeed is a very important dimension of servant leadership. Here, they become servant leaders, or in a way, they push their subordinates up. They help them. The helping subordinates grow and succeed. So, a servant leader tries to ensure that subordinates are progressing, subordinates are developing. Subordinate development is actually happening, and the servant leader facilitates so that a subordinate succeeds. Further, putting subordinates first. So giving, for example, if there is a successful operation, leader will give credit to the subordinates. Well, he is my colleague such and such, he made a lot of effort, he has done a lot of effort, had worked very hard, or she has worked very hard, and that's why we are seeing the success. So putting subordinates first, not taking credit for everything, not taking credit for something that has been done by the employees or by the members of the group. So, of course, credit goes to the leader, but at the same time, to take care of the morale of the employees, to take care of the morale of the colleagues, a servant leader puts subordinates first. And last one is behaving ethically. As I said earlier also, ethics is very important. So, you see, in other styles of leadership, ethics is not part of it. Say, when we talk about, if we talk about say democratic leaders, participative leaders, ethics is expected. Every leader should be ethical, whether it's a participative leader or democratic leader or a task telling someone, whether a leader is using telling style or selling style or participating style or delegating style, whichever style he is using. Every leader is expected to be ethical. But here in service leadership, Ethics is part and parcel. It is ingrained in the definition. A servant leader has to be ethical. So a servant leader, one cannot be a servant leader unless he behaves ethically. So these are the 7 dimensions which have been reported in the literature. Contemporary organizations need the climate characterized by supportiveness, linked with learning, performance, and productivity. So climate should be characterized by supportiveness, one, linked with learning, so continuous learning, continuous upgradation, performance, upgradation of the performance, do better next time, and productivity, increasing productivity accordingly. The working environment should be conducive for employees to feel motivated to work. So environment, as I said in the beginning, the third category, situational or contingency theories. There are maximum theories in this category. Since 1920s, large number of models have appeared. Large number of theoretical models have appeared explaining what leadership is. And all those theoretical models can be broadly classified into 4 categories: trait theories, behavioral theories, situational theories, and implicit theories. And the maximum theoretical models fall in the 3rd category, that is situational theories, wherein situation is considered an important element of the leadership process. So leadership is accepted as a form of behavior, which may be an outcome of the 2 dimensions, as I said, person dimension and production dimension. But then at the same time, besides these 2 dimensions, there is situation. So situation plays an important role. So same thing applies to servant leadership. The working environment should be conducive for employees to feel motivated to work. One should feel motivated. So feeling motivated is important. One is thinking that, yes, I should be motivated. I need to be motivated. I need to work in a better way. But another is feeling, affective aspect. See, as we know, there are, when we talk about mind, there are 3 elements: cognitive element, affective element, and conative element. So the affective element refers to feelings and emotion. So feeling motivated. So another one, when we talk about cognitive aspect, cognitive means that when one is thinking, one is perceiving, that one should be motivated. Perception about motivation. That is cognitive element. Thinking about motivated. Well, I need to be motivated. I need to hurry up. I need to do things in a better way. But another aspect is the affective aspect. Feeling motivated. One should feel like that. One should feel that, yes, I need to do better. I need to do more. So feeling motivated to work is important. That kind of situation a servant leader should be able to create. Servant leadership has emerged as a critical leadership style capable of affecting the attitudes and behaviors of a cross-section of employees. So both are important. As we know, we talk about attitudes and behaviors. When we talk about attitude, we are talking about certain behaviors towards a particular stimulus. Attitudes are internal. Internally, we have started thinking about someone or behaving towards someone in a consistent manner. So attitude may be positive, attitude may be negative. Attitude can be either positive or negative towards the situation, towards people, towards work, and so on. But at the same time, behavior is obvious. Behavior is external. It can be seen. It can impact, and there is an impact on the attitudes, that is the internal aspect, and behavior, that is the external aspect of the employees. Thus, it calls for clearly identifying and understanding the constituents of servant leadership in Indian context. Has any work been done in Indian context? Yes, there are some work, some research which have been done very recently, in recent past. That means when I am saying recent past, say maybe in last 5 to 6 years, 7 years, some researches in India have been seen. Earlier, but if you would say 10 years back, no, you won't find any Indian study. There were some studies which were done in USA only, earlier. But then in recent past, many researchers in India got interested in understanding, in learning more about what servant leadership is and how it works. So there are studies which have indicated various constituents of servant leadership in Indian context, which I would like to share with you. So there are 11 factors which have emerged, which have been reported in Indian context. 1, employee-centered. A servant leader is employee-centered, right? So servant leaders are not task-oriented leaders. Servant leaders are not task-oriented leaders. They are employee-centered or employee-oriented leaders. This is the first factor. Second, they are ethical. As I said, I've been repeatedly saying, ethics is part and parcel of the concept of servant leadership. So in Indian context also, what we understand, what our people understand, what executives working in India understand is that ethical part is important factor, constituent factor of servant leadership. Motivator. One is the motivator. The servant leader motivates the people. He motivates his subordinates. He motivates his followers. Even a servant leader can motivate cross-section of people. That means across departments, across groups. So the servant leaders have been found to be effective motivators. Further, modest. Servant leaders are modest. He may be a great leader, man of great achievements, or woman of great achievements, but modesty has been found as a constituent factor of servant leadership. Further, empowering. Servant leaders empower their colleagues, empower their followers to take decisions, become part of the decision-making process. Considerate. They are considerate. You see, there's a very, very famous ad that we see very often on television. I think this is for Action 500. The employee is not keeping well. He sneezes and breaks the test tube. And the superior comes and tells him, "Kya haal bana rakha hai? Kuch lete kyun nahi?" What does this mean? This is consideration. This is the example of consideration. And that's what servant leaders are. They are considerate. Considerate towards their employees or followers. Empathetic. They are empathetic. They place oneself, they place themselves in the shoes of the employees or others to understand, to feel what they must be feeling or what they must be going through. Socially responsible. They are socially responsible. The servant leaders are considered to be socially responsible. That is another constituent of servant leadership. Further, trustworthiness. Servant leaders are trustworthy. They are trusted by their subordinates. They are trusted by their followers. They are trusted by their colleagues. So their colleagues, they do not follow their instructions simply because they are in the position of authority. No. They follow the instructions, they follow the guidelines of the leader, servant leader, because they trust him or they trust her. So trustworthiness has been reported as a constituent factor of servant leadership. Intuitive, they are intuitive. So everything may not go by logic. So intuition also works. So they are very intuitive. Just by hunch, certain things come. By insight, they may have some solutions by insight. So everything may not go by logic. They are intuitive too. They use intuition at times very, very significantly. And finally, they are candid, very candid people. They will not exaggerate. They will not talk. The big talk won't be there. Big talk won't be there. Well, we have done it. We have made an effort together. Our people have made an effort, and we have achieved this success all together. Candid. So these are some of the factors which have been found as the constituent factors of servant leadership. In fact, these constituents explain everything. So if we remember these constituents, I would therefore like to go back and again share these 11 factors which are constituent. As I said, in Indian context, we have found them. It calls for clearly identifying and understanding the constituents of servant leadership in Indian context. So in Indian context, we have found there are 11 factors: employee-centered, ethical, motivators, then modest, empowering, considerate, empathetic. So they are very empathetic, socially responsible, trustworthy, intuitive, and candid. So these are the characteristics of a servant leadership. Now further, there are certain studies which we have found where researchers are not talking only in terms of factors, but they have classified certain factors. Even these 11 factors, 11 constituent factors of servant leadership have been clubbed into 5 dimensions. What are those? 1, righteousness. They are righteous. 2, dependable. As I said, they are trustworthy as a constituent factor, but then there are other elements are combined with it. They are dependable. So when in the case of a servant leader, his colleagues or her colleagues depend on them. 3rd, honest. They are seen as honest people. Their point is not, people do not suspect, people do not see any vested interest when a servant leader gives certain instructions or guides. So he is seen as an honest person. He or she is seen as a honest person. Modest. They are seen as modest. And then the last dimension that has been seen by clubbing all these constituent factors have been clubbed into these 5 dimensions, that is empathetic. So righteous, dependable, honest, modest, and empathetic. These are the constituent. If we can just remember these factors and dimensions, we would always remember what a servant leader is. And we can realize and practice ourselves the concept of servant leadership. So this is the source. So I would stop here. Now I will be very happy to answer if there are any questions, and I would like to have a interaction. Is more useful than simply one-sided dialogue. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, I will be happy to listen to the questions.
Yes, sir. So first of all, thank you for such an insightful session, sir. There are some questions in the chat. So the question says, ultimate goal of leadership is to make the organization to achieve its goals. Will there be situations where organization fails in realizing its goal, but followers consider leader is servant-oriented?
You see, this is true. Ultimately, whichever style we are having, Ultimately, the organization goals are to be achieved, no doubt about it. But now, where do leaders differ? They differ in terms of their style. One may be using, say, if we talk about Hersey model, Hersey and Blanchard model, one may be using telling style, or one may be using selling style, one may be using participating style, one may be using delegating style. Same way, one may be using servant leadership or servant style. It has models. The majority of these theories are in that. So situation is an important aspect. So leadership, the servant leadership is applicable in certain situations where situation is conducive. Where situation is conducive and a leader is able to depend on his employees, give them authority, empower them, put them before anything that one is doing, there, yes, it will be always effective. Have I answered the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
We'll take the next question, sir. So the question says, Southwest Airlines, under the guidance of founder Herb Kelleher, is frequently cited as the model servant leadership corporation. Kelleher's philosophy of putting employees first resulted in a highly engaged, low turnover workforce and 35 plus consecutive years of profitability, an unheard record in the turbulent airline industry. Sir, do you think leading as a servant can be practiced across different sectors of business?
Yes, there are two parts to it. One is, can servant leadership work in every situation? Answer is no. Second, I have mentioned in my presentation also, if we do not take care of certain aspects, their performance or their production may come down. If we do not cross-check, if we do not develop the environment of trust within the organization. So trust is an important factor. And number one, should be in sync. What they want, can they do it? If there is a feeling of, yes, we can do it, we can do it, then servant leadership will work. But if there are some people are having doubt, not sure whether we'll be able to do it or not, okay, we will try, servant leadership will not work there. So a servant leader has to assess whether to go for that kind of style in a particular situation or not. So situation is important. In a particular situation, it may work for some time, but then if situation changes, the servant leadership may not work. So that's why, in other words, if we go back to Hersey and Blanchard, if the situation is such that people are not really agreeing, they are not really listening, so one has to use the telling style. If the Hersey Blanchard has explained it in terms of maturity level, say M1, then telling style. If it is M2, then selling style. That means people are willing but unable. So we will use selling style. Similarly, participating style. If people are able but not willing, so participating style will be used. Similarly, dealing. So point is, depending upon the situation. So we cannot say that servant leadership is remedy for all disorders. No. We cannot have service leadership applicable in every situation. It depends. One has to assess. One has to assess whether that kind of environment, enabling environment, is there or not. If a person can create an enabling environment, if a person can depend on the followers, on the employees, and trust, then yes, it can do. So first, that conduciveness is to be created. It is not that one fine morning a leader is joining an organization and he starts using servant leadership. That won't work. People may start laughing at him. So he has to, first of all, assess the situation, understand the people, and then gradually introduce various constituents, which I have discussed, of this servant leadership.
Right,
okay,
sir.
have I answered?
Yes, sir. We understand, sir. Situational variable is very, very important.
Yeah.
Any kind of leadership, particularly also servant leadership. So we'll take the next question. This is by Dr. Seema Singh, and she's asking, people tend to look up to their leaders and in a way place them on a pedestal. Wouldn't servant leadership mean we have brought down the leader from the pedestal thereby reducing the elements of influence.
Yes, that is what the servant leadership says. Servant leadership says that leader has not to be on the higher, taller pedestal. Leader has to be one amongst the followers. So leader should be identified as one amongst them. But of course, with better abilities, with better understanding about the situation, better understanding about what they are doing, and then he has the ability to influence. A leader has the ability to influence all people towards the common goal. So if it is so, then only this servant leadership works. So here it is not higher and lower, because we are not talking in terms of the positioning. We are talking in terms of function. So functionally, they work together. Functionally, a servant leader takes people along so that they don't have to look up. That leader is up, so how would we identify? No. So here, leader is taking people along. They go together. So leader, in a way, functionally becomes one amongst them. Position-wise, he may be on the pedestal, but functionally, a leader becomes one amongst the followers, one amongst all those who are working with him or her.
Right, sir. So the next question is Gandhiji a servant-oriented leader or leader to influence the followers?
No, see, when we say leader to influence the followers, the point is, if we ask the question, what is leadership, irrespective of style, what is leadership? Leadership is the ability to influence a group towards a common goal. So this applies across board, whether we are talking about any kind of leadership style. So a leader has to have the ability to influence. So that's what Gandhiji, if we are taking Gandhiji, he was a charismatic leader. So he had a charisma. He had the ability to influence those who came in contact with him or those who worked with him. So there are, you can see the books, even in books published in United States and other countries, Mahatma Gandhi has been recognized as a charismatic leader. So charismatic leaders have the ability to influence because of that charisma that they have. Say, for example, acting out of ordinary. He used to act out of ordinary, take his dress. That was not suit, boot, tie, no. Just wearing a cloth or like, say, sari. So nothing else. That is how this one leader commented on him that he's a naked fakir. I'm not recalling the name. One Churchill called him naked fakir. It is not. He acted out of ordinary and influenced large number of people across board, not only in India. He came from Africa, even there he had influenced people. So the point is, he was a charismatic leader because he acted out of ordinary. Everybody cannot dare to act out of ordinary. But Gandhiji had that courage. So he was a charismatic leader. So we won't say a servant leader. He was a charismatic leader. Although you can see some elements of servant leadership in him. For example, he served the patients of leprosy himself. He used to do the dressing of the patients of leprosy. He used to sweep the floor. So by himself, he used to sweep. These are also elements of servant leadership. So if we want to put him in that parlance, whether he was a servant leader or not, yes, he was a servant leader in that sense. But as if you see the older model existing literature, he is classified as a charismatic leader. You can see we are very commonly in India, we are using Robbins. In Robbins also is mentioned as charismatic leader.
Right. So we'll take the last question for today. The question says, we are living in a VUCA world today where change is happening at an unprecedented pace. Sir, do you think servant leaders can be effective change agents?
Yes, yes. That's why we are talking about service leadership today, because everybody cannot be an expert in everything. So if we are empowering our people, giving them priority, recognizing their abilities, and taking help and taking support of the experts that are there in our group, in our team, the followers. So we are giving them right position. We are recognizing their abilities. We are recognizing their talent. It works. So leader does not say, okay, do what I am saying. No. Leader would do what an expert member is saying. It is the other way around. Yes, today servant leadership is relevant. That's why I have titled it Relevance of Servant Leadership. Yes, it is relevant today. So we have to serve. We have to serve each other. Therefore, take the advantage of the expertise of the members of the team. Not simply saying, no, since I am leader, you do what I am saying. No, I will follow what is your expert advice? What is your advice? So involve people, involving them and valuing their expertise. That's what is important. That's what is important. And that's why I'm saying servant leadership will certainly work today. And it works today.
That was the last question for today, sir. And the past 1 hour just flew by. So thank you, Dr. Dhar, for such profound insights on this very interesting topic. Sir, we all stand enriched by your session. Thank you so very much. I also wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Ramaswamy Nandagopal, sir, President AIMS, and Dr. G.K. Shri, sir, Regional Vice President West AIMS, for motivating and creating such knowledge sharing opportunities. A big thank you to AIMS Secretariat for making this possible. And last but not the least, thank you all the participants for making the session so invigorating and asking such wonderful questions. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.